An amazing. We did it! You campaigned for it, you fought for it, you voted for it, and now it has arrived. Change begins now.
That was Keir Starmer earlier today vowing that change begins now after his party swept a victory yesterday in the past hour. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak arrived at Buckingham Palace to offer his resignation, which King Charles accepted. The former prime minister, or the soon-to-be former prime minister, also gave an incredibly gracious farewell to the British people from 10 Downing. Also moments ago, Keir Starmer left Buckingham Palace after meeting King Charles. He has now been appointed as the United Kingdom's new prime minister. Let's bring in right now Sky News anchor and MSNBC contributor Wilfred Frost, and also editor-in-chief of Bloomberg, John Micklethwait. Thank you all both for being with us. So let's start with just the scope of this victory, Wilfred. Let's start with the fact that this is history. This is like, for America, this is like FDR over Alf Landon. I mean, you have to go back a long way, to find a time when conservatives have fared this badly. And actually, they've never fared this badly, have they?
This is a historically big defeat for the Conservatives, as you said. It is almost historically big victory for Labour, but fractionally smaller majority for Keir Starmer than Tony Blair got in 1997. Tony Blair got 179 seats. Majority. Starmer's is shaping up to be at about 175. But a monumental victory, as you're saying. 412 seats of the 650 in total, 63% overall. He's going to be able to do pretty much whatever he wants, particularly in the early years. And I just add to the size and significance, Joe, that you mentioned there when trying to compare it to some past US victories. It's the first Labour government for 14 years. And in that sense, it is a big, big change in direction for the nation.
Massive. And John, we're looking at Keir Starmer, the new prime minister, greeting well-wishers there. And my gosh, I look at him and it's hard to find somebody that is more temperamentally different than Jeremy Corbyn, more politically different than Jeremy Corbyn. He is cautious to a fault. He is talk about a steady as she goes sort of guy. And yet what he has done for the Labour Party since the disaster of Corbyn's reign as the head of Labour, it's just breathtaking. You look at the results in 2019 when Labour was losing strongholds up north, and now this massive sweep, this massive victory.
I think it's rather amazing. You've seen this guy, as you pointed out, and I think Wilf would agree, not the most inspirational man, very low-key, very methodical. And yet, I would argue, not only has he suddenly ended up with this massive majority, despite only getting 34% of the vote, he's suddenly going to become a much bigger figure in everyone's lives around the world. You look next week, you have the NATO summit. He's going to show up, as you've just been discussing. You know, Joe Biden, there's doubts about whether he'll survive the weekend. You've had Macron, who's in real trouble. You have Olaf Scholz, who's not in good state in Germany. And you have this man who's now going to be there for the next 5 years. And yes, there are all kinds of basket case problems to do with Britain. But this is going to be a key man in the future of the West. And he was someone who most people didn't really even know who he was a few weeks ago outside Britain. And he's now become a much bigger deal. And he's done that in the kind of slow, methodical, rather kind of boring way that politics used to be done.
John, politically and also policy-wise, what does this mean for Britain and the world?
I think it means in the following bits. I think in terms of foreign policy, his main focus will probably be Europe. If he can do a deal with Europe that is better than the somewhat useless one that Boris Johnson left behind, he will become somebody who can produce growth. Because if you look at the British economy, there isn't much room unless you actually get some growth from somewhere. And that is his challenge. And the most easy place to get growth is from Europe. If he can deregulate planning laws and all those things, that could also help him.
All right, John, let's listen to the new Prime Minister.
I want to thank the outgoing Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. His achievement as the first British Asian Prime Minister of our country, the extra effort that will have required, should not be underestimated by anyone. And we pay tribute to that today. And we also recognise the dedication and hard work he brought to his leadership. But now our country has voted decisively for change, for national renewal, and a return of politics to public service. When the gap between the sacrifices made by people and the service they receive from politicians grows this big, it leads to a weariness in the heart of a nation, a draining away of the hope, the spirit, the belief in a better future, that we need to move forward together. Now, this wound, this lack of trust, can only be healed by actions, not words. I know that. But we can make a start today with the simple acknowledgement that public service is a privilege and that your government should treat every single person in this country with respect. If you voted Labour yesterday, we will carry the responsibility of your trust as we rebuild our country. But whether you voted Labour or not, in fact, especially if you did not, I say to you directly, my government will serve you. Politics can be a force for good. We will show that. We've changed the Labour Party, returned it to service, and that is how we will govern. Country first, party second. Yet, if I'm honest, service is merely a precondition of hope, and it is surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger reset, a rediscovery of who we are, because no matter how fierce the storms of history, one of the great strengths of this nation has always been our ability to navigate a way to calmer waters. And yet this depends upon politicians, particularly those who stand for stability and moderation, as I do, recognising when we must change course. For too long now, we've turned a blind eye as millions slid into greater insecurity. Nurses, builders, drivers, carers, people doing the right thing, working harder every day, recognised at moments like this before, yet as soon as the cameras stop rolling, their lives are ignored. I want to say very clearly to those people, not this time. Changing a country is not like flicking a switch. The world is now a more volatile place. This will take a while. But have no doubt that the work of change begins immediately. Have no doubt that we will rebuild Britain with wealth created in every community, our NHS back on its feet facing the future, secure borders, safer streets, everyone treated with dignity and respect at work, the opportunity of clean British power, cutting your energy bills for good. And brick by brick, we will rebuild the infrastructure of opportunity, the world-class schools and colleges, the affordable homes that I know are the ingredients of hope for working people, the security that working-class families like mine can build their lives around. Because if I asked you now whether you believe that Britain will be better for your children. I know too many of you would say no. And so my government will fight every day until you believe again. From now on, you have a government unburdened by doctrine, guided only by the determination to serve your interest, to defy, quietly, those who have written our country off. You have given us a clear mandate, and we will use it to deliver change, to restore service and respect to politics, end the era of noisy performance, tread more lightly on your lives, and unite our country. 4 nations standing together again, facing down, as we have so often in our past, the challenges of an insecure world, committed to a calm and patient rebuilding. So, with respect and humility, I invite you all to join this government of service in the mission of national renewal. Our work is urgent, and we begin it today. Thank you very much.
That is an
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.